there's kind of been this spiritual war between people saying I'm a healer, and then other people saying we aren't healers, we just hold space for healing. But then she put it into perspective that, we potentially hold the frequency, like for you and I, we always feel filled up after being together. And it's like we have this frequency that helps each other balance.
Hmm.
So that really clarified that for me because it was like, do you say you're a healer? And it depends where it's coming from too, right? If you're like, oh, I healed all these people, right? That's the ego. But,
Yeah.
if we're just calling ourselves a healer, sure we are. And I used to have really fight with that one because I thought that sounds really egotistical. But the way this lady explained it, it was like, that makes total sense. We do need each other. Thousands of years ago, the monks would travel thousands of miles to go see a healer. It's
Hmm.
ancient, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason why we label things is so that we don't have to come up with some big explanation of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, I mean, when you say I'm a healer, it doesn't mean that you're insinuating that you go around healing people. You
Right.
just provide the space to support them and guide them, maybe not guide them. I mean, partly. You invite them to move at their own pace and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it is guiding actually. Like counseling is guiding.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking powerful questions in hopes that they're going to move a certain direction if that feels right for them. And
Yeah.
um but I mean, even I find myself moving into the labels, I guess, if you want to say that, with like ADHD and autism and all these things, because like really we can look at the person as a whole person and that they have these characteristics or things that they struggle with, but it's a lot easier to just say, well, this person has ADHD. These are the
Mm-hmm.
characteristics they have. But
Right.
really,
Yeah.
what's underneath the ADHD is maybe anxiety and trauma and things they need to work on. And they come across that way because they don't have control of themselves. They're
Mm.
over emotional or they're like over anxious because everything affects them, like stimulation, and they're triggered all the time, and it can manifest to look like ADHD. But really, is it?
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's like here's a handbasket. We'll call it ADHD and let's unpack it together. Like let's see what's in there.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
for a lack of um, a better word or something, it's like it's just easier to put a label on something so that you don't have to sit there and have this big explanation of what's happening with the person, I guess.
Mhm.
So I mean, as a healer, like what else would we call it, really?
Mhm. Yeah, and something just came up for me about that as well. You know how like cats come and lay on you and their purr is at a certain frequency and it actually heals people. I think it's no different for us. We hold a certain frequency that helps others heal, and whether that's merging with their energy or who's to say, right? Like,
That's true. Because I mean, how many times have I think mentioned to you when um people are around me, or I don't even know, some people I haven't even met, they just follow me on social media or something, and they're like, oh, there's something about you, or this energy about you, or what. They don't even actually say the energy part. A lot of times it's like, a lot of times it's men that are like, I just feel like I love you, and I just like, I really like you. I'm like, it's my energy. Like,
yeah,
I've accepted that now. Not
right,
every person likes me that much. They don't
right.
even know who I am. Like, but they're attracted to the energy, the frequency that we hold.
Yeah.
And that's how we attract like-minded people into our life. But also, as an empath or a healer or someone at a high frequency, you're
Hmm.
going to attract the people that are what we call sometimes energy vampires,
Hmm.
or people that need that energy. So,
Yeah.
on another note, it's important to recognize if you had that gift, I guess you could call it, and protect it because it's kind of sacred, not for everyone.
That's right. It's true. True. I didn't used to know that. Right? Giving it a, like, think about our unhealed days, when we were just flailing through life, had no spiritual consciousness, just and giving our energy away to just whoever came across our path.
Yeah.
And yeah, that shift to realizing how sacred it actually is and learning to protect it by whether it's removing people from our lives completely or limiting our interactions with them for that reason, even if we didn't know it in the beginning. I remember myself, I was really rough about it. Like I was really like, get the fuck out of my life, but that
Yeah.
was the beginning of it, right? And I still wasn't, I don't know, well-rounded or balanced about it, or conscious really. I wasn't conscious of what was happening, but it was already
Hmm.
starting before I knew it.
Well, and you know what I'm hearing is, and I can relate to it, is um, for myself, it was like the people pleasing behaviors, and you just keep doing, doing, doing for that person until you
Mhm.
have nothing left and you're pissed off and you're, like you said, like, get the fuck out of my life.
Yeah.
And that's not who we are, but we didn't know how to put up boundaries and thinking of others before ourselves. You keep giving until your cup is empty and there's nothing left to give. And that's like we I don't want to say we push ourselves there, but it's like we allow ourselves to arrive in this place that feels unmanageable.
Hmm.
So we're
Yeah.
not showing up as our authentic selves anymore because we've lost ourselves in this relationship or connection that we had. But when
Hmm.
we create these boundaries and learn to love ourselves,
Hmm.
there's a real awareness of like what's healthy and what's not. And um, you start to recognize how people make you feel too.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this doesn't actually feel very good. Like when we move into self love and you're like, and connecting with our bodies and, doing the work, you get these little nudges and stuff that go, I don't like that. And you're like, okay, what is this?
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, every time this person's around, I feel like this. Maybe they're not for me or, but when you're completely disconnected, you don't have that awareness.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I found myself once I became more conscious of my life and my, trying to live in the present and how am I feeling right now and why am I feeling that way? Is it because of the present or is it because something that happened yesterday? Trying to that felt like really hard work for me. It was almost like all of the pathways were still intertwined, like of the nervous system and my brain, really. Was used to
Yeah.
firing a certain way and trying to reprogram that. And that's essentially what happens when we change our behaviors. And I remember being overstimulated by thinking I was overstimulated by everything when I first started to become conscious, but it wasn't really. It was just that I was still feeling that way from the day before or something that happened that morning and then kind of blaming it on the situation, that I was carrying that energy into let's just say I was at a family member's house, and I was irritated and everything they said irritated me, but it wasn't necessarily them, right? So there's all these different layers of, it's not always them
Yeah.
too, right? Sometimes it is us. That was a tough
Yeah.
one for me to swallow, and work out within my own being.
Hmm.
How does this feel? Like, how do I want to feel? And what am I going to do to change that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What you said is pretty pretty powerful because when we can actually recognize what's our emotion and what's somebody else's and stop creating this story in our mind of what it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I know for me, it was just like getting to a place where I could recognize that I was just releasing emotion. It didn't have to have a story. It
Right.
was just this stuck emotion in my body that somehow was unburied or, something triggered it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't necessarily, the emotion wasn't coming from what triggered it. It was just a
Right.
remembering. And it's like, oh, this is making me cry. I need to release this
Yeah.
now, and not giving it power to be
Mm-hmm.
anything that it's not.
Mm-hmm. Just a feeling. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember dealing with like high anxiety and I had to learn, actually, I think it was my mom that told me, the feelings aren't going to kill you. Yes, it feels like you're dying in a heightened anxiety attack, but those feelings are just feelings. That really helped me,
Yeah.
like just like what you're saying, it's just is what it is, it doesn't necessarily always need a big story behind it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when you can get to that place of awareness and growth within yourself that you can separate it all
Mm-hmm.
instead of it being a big clump of a messy, like, I feel overwhelmed and emotional, and it must be this and it must be that. And, and
Mm-hmm. Give
where
me a
you're like,
smoke, give me a wine.
yeah, let's bury that back down because I don't
Let's
like
numb
it.
it. Yep.
Yeah. But now it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, I'm getting triggered or I'm getting frustrated. And what is this about? What is it about for me?
Hmm.
Like, where is this coming from? And recognizing the limiting beliefs about, what's coming up for you in each situation, and welcoming it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Takes a lot of hard work to get here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of
I
even
mean,
just
how,
being able to explain what we're explaining, like what goes on within us. Like, who knows how long it took, but a fucking long time.
yeah. Well, I mean, the start of it for me was, um, well, I mean, it depends on how far you want to go back to this awareness, or, actually looking at our life where
Hmm.
it was unmanageable. I mean, I guess I started to recognize it in like 20 2009,
Hmm.
but the deep work started in 2018. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a long time from the state of being like, fuck my life, to, okay, I'm ready
Hmm.
to do something about it now,
Hmm.
you know? And then from
Yep.
then it's just been like such a journey. And, like even in, um, just so the audience knows, you and I are both in our own counseling programs at different colleges. But I look at some of the students in my class, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember when I was there. It's like,
Yeah. I
this is what's
know.
going on with you. And I'm like,
Hmm.
but also having like the self, I don't want to say self control, but self awareness, and like from a counseling point of view, to be like, this can't be rushed for them. It has to unfold in their own time. Even though
Hmm.
or you think what they need to
Hmm.
process or what's underneath it, it's their journey to go through. And then remembering how long it took us to get to where we are from those little stages, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And everybody's time frame is so different, the speed that they go and the amount of stuff they have to work on. And I know I got stuck a few times and kind of went backwards a little bit, after I started and was
Mm-hmm.
just like, this is too painful, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and took a break from therapy. And, there's so many moving pieces that can either accelerate our healing or stall it,
Yeah.
or we get into functional freeze. I know I was there for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But sure feels good being here.
Yeah.
Like sure, there's lots of work still. I mean, the healing journey never ends, obviously, but you get to a point where you feel like you've kind of made it, right? That you're conscious. And that's a beautiful feeling, as much there's pain that comes with it because, we've talked about this before. You see somebody behaving a certain way and you're like, that's definitely trauma or whatever, without saying it out loud. But, when you get to that point that you can see those things and you have such a deep awareness of life itself,
Yeah.
unfolding in front of you. And it's pretty potent.
Hmm.
It's a cool way of navigating life.
Yeah. And so, um, I heard you say it feels good to be here. What can you share about that feeling?
Sure of myself, not not asking other people what I should do for my life. Like, sure, confiding, I confide in you a lot about, you think this is crazy or whatever, because sometimes we get into our own head, right? And I know I do. It's
Yeah.
nice to have that reflection from a sister, but like truly feeling like if I want to do something, I know I can do it. I don't have to ask anybody. The old me would have been like on the phone, hey, mom, or a husband or whatever, needing everybody else's approval before I did
Hmm.
something, whether it was beneficial for me or not, like even quitting things, right? Like it's okay,
Yeah.
right? I used to carry this deep shame and deep need to be accepted by everything outside of me. So, and I guess there's lots of layers to that, right? With self acceptance, it's like our body, the way we care for our body, we do it in our own way, like there's so many layers. And the spirituality part, I used to hide it. Like when
Hmm.
I first, well, it's probably around the same, I think we started our healing journeys around the same, like actually becoming conscious around the same time. Mine was, 2008, 2009 area. And that was when I went through my first divorce and, just started like, I need to get healthy. Like,
Hmm.
I don't like the way I'm living. I don't like that I'm going out every weekend drinking and leaving my kids. And, I was still escaping the marriage, even though I wasn't in it. I was still in
Right.
the pattern, right? I was still in that behavior. And so, I took a course to become a personal trainer. Never did anything with it, but it helped me learn how to take care of my body, right? And I got in really good shape, became vegan. I got teased a lot by the people that were close to me. So then I would not be vegan for a while. And then I would be vegan
Mm.
again. And then finally I just did a 2 year stretch and I was just like, fuck it. I don't care what other people think. This is for my body. And it was just like this weird, intuitive knowing that came over me. And
Yeah.
I
And
was
it's a
just like,
moment of empowerment too. Like I'm doing what's right for
yes,
me.
exactly. And like for me, that is the first time that I remember sticking to something that I really wanted to do for me, right? Not for anybody else, but for me. And I
Yeah.
think that's, another layer of here I am still making decisions for me, with no guilt now, no hiding, like the spirituality part, like, I'm out there on social media with it. If you think I'm too woo woo, then move along, right? Like, whereas
Yeah.
before I would have, dampened it down and been like, oh, well, so and so is watching and I know so and so follows me and, this lady's not this. And, you know,
Hmm.
like, no, it's all gone now. So,
Yeah. And it
sure
just,
you can relate to that.
yeah. And just like how empowering that feels to just let everyone's opinions and thoughts and feelings go about who they think you should be and just
Yeah.
showing up authentically, knowing that the people that are meant to be in your life are going to be there and the ones that aren't,
Yeah.
they just fall away. And
Yeah.
that was a hard one for me. I was really
Mhm.
trying to process that. Um, gosh, probably 3 or 4 years ago now,
Yeah.
where I really started to realize like, this journey is a journey of my own on my own. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing that the people that were meant to be with me were going to carry on with me and the ones that weren't would fall away. And knowing that sometimes some of my family members would be those people, or maybe some
Mm-hmm.
of my really close, good friends. And
Yeah.
that was a really tough one for me where I was like, yeah, but if I truly step into my power and my authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lose people that I love, possibly.
Yeah.
And that was really hard. But I just went, I can't stop now. Like once you're on this journey, you're like, I can't stop. I just, you jump through that door or over that step or whatever it is, what you imagine, and there's no going
Yeah.
back. And it's like, you just have to trust that those people that love you and respect you will love you for who you're becoming. And if they don't,
Mm-hmm.
they're not really meant for you anyway.
That's right. Yeah, blood or not, right? Like you can't force people to come with you, as much as you'd love them to, you know. But yeah, and touching on that, like you say, um, like just stepping back a little bit back into what you were saying about, they don't like who the people think you should be, but also who people think you are, you know, like
Yes.
like people still see me because they don't know me anymore. They still see me as the old person, back in, let's just say even 2005 when, I was going to the bars all the time and, just not living an authentic life.
Mhm.
And I'm sure they still see me that way. And then you get people who have opinions of us. They don't know us. They don't
No,
know us. If I don't know somebody intimately in my life, their opinion doesn't, nobody's opinion really matters. I do care what, I care about my friends and how I treat them and stuff like that. But if they've just heard from other people of who I am, that's not really an opinion. That's
no,
gossip, right?
yeah. And really, this is a journey back to ourselves and
Mhm. That's right.
the people that were in our lives for, from birth up until now. And we were, you know, raised by our parents, society, the schools, all of these influences in our life that has created that person that we were.
Yep.
That's not who we were.
No, that's
So
right.
everyone that loved you for that person, it's not who you were anyway. So
No.
um, essentially it you just start to realize that, I mean, hopefully your family will love you for who you truly are when you get there. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I think you kind of like made the point about it, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I was going to say something else about it and I can't remember now, but it's like, um, it's definitely important to just keep working on yourself and standing in that power that we all have. And
Mm-hmm.
it's easier said than done, but it does get easier as you go. The more you love yourself, the more you can stand out and be an individual or,
Yeah.
speak your truth.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I find when I do step into that self-care, mentally, physically, and spiritually, it's almost like those good things I'm doing for myself keep the momentum going. It's like, oh my gosh, that felt so good. I want to do it again and I want to do more.
Hmm.
Like when I, went through a health journey a few years ago, just like completely wiping all of the crap out of my life and going vegan and juicing and like I have never felt so good in my life, and it was fucking hard. Like it was really hard to change my habits every day and make a conscious decision. I mean, obviously it was driven by fear, because of disease and whatever, but it happened for a reason, I think.
Yeah.
There was a fork in the road, Kim, and I had to choose, you
Hmm.
know, and I I chose. I don't know which way I went, but
No, you're in a beautiful place now. I think you chose appropriately.
yeah, yeah. Guess it doesn't matter. Did I go left or right? And that's not political.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
Um,
yeah, it does. Yeah, once we start loving ourselves, it just gets easier and easier. And you just have like a give no fucks attitude, and because we are the only ones that can take care of us.
yeah,
That's the truth.
yeah. I mean, gosh, there's like a whole little paradigm around that too, where for a long time for myself anyway, I was seeking other people to do what I was meant to do for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, when we realize that, well, and to add that too, when you are a caring person and you accept that you're here to help others. I know for me, I was trying to help people that weren't ready to be helped, and it was bothering me. It's like, well, why won't they just listen to me, or why won't they just
Yeah.
do this, or why won't they just do what I'm doing? And that was quite a long journey to get to a place where I'm like the only person I have control over, or who I
Mm-hmm.
want to even have control over. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would never want to have control over anyone, but in a sense, that's what we're doing. We think we can control other people's journey, but we can't. We can only
Right.
control our own.
Yeah.
And the more we focus on ourselves and heal ourselves, we're literally healing the people around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
You,
look what you can do. You too can have this.
yeah, it's all a matter of choice. You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
best thing we can do is show up for ourselves and do the work on ourselves so that it mirrors to other people what it can be like.
Yeah. And it's going to irritate the fuck out of some people too.
Oh, I trigger people all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you're not ready.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't, I mean, and that used to bother me too, where I'd be like, okay, well, maybe I need to like calm my light down a little bit because I'm upsetting people.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not fucking doing that anymore. I'm going to shine as bright as I can. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't like it, you're welcome to go exit out the door.
Yep.
But I'm also going to put my hand out to be like, hey, take my hand and come with me. I'm not
Yeah.
dimming my light anymore.
No, good for you. So, would you be able to give an example of what that looks like? Is there a
But like,
moment or an interaction that's happened that you could give an example of like what we're talking about?
um, I mean, honestly, even in class, like because I'm in an online learning program, and I know there's people in my class that aren't ready to, um, they think that the spirituality part, like the energy healing and the breath work and stuff like that, is like it's silly, it's fluffy, like they're not ready to accept that it actually is what you need to do the deep healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, unfortunately for them, it's coming up in our learning. So it'll be interesting in the future when we get there.
Right.
But I could just choose to not talk about it and be quiet in class and not raise my hand and share. But I refuse to do that because there's people in the class that do appreciate the knowledge and they do appreciate what I have to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I should be quiet if it's important to me.
No.
So I'm really getting a lot better at just ignoring the facial expressions on the screen and possibly the comments in the private chats that people are having to be like,
Yeah.
that's on you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's coming, and I might be the one that's snickering under my breath, being like, well, I told you. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it's like, it's humbling to when you see people that,
Yeah. I know
you
what you
know,
mean.
yeah.
Well, and
And
it's so important that you're worth talking about. How cool is that?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. I was like, oh, really? I'm that important in your life that you're gonna like talk about me? Wow, I love it. Pretty
No
awesome.
kidding. Yeah.
Celebrity in my own world.
Well, and I know that there's a lot of appreciation for what I bring to the table. Like some of the classmates tell me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even see myself being as powerful, I think, as I am. I'm trying to start recognizing it and accepting it, but it's like that's the humble part of me is like I'm just who I am. And I
Yeah.
know what I have to offer to people, but you know, the ego's gone. I mean, we all have had ego in the past that it protects us and keeps us safe, but
Yeah.
um
It's not in the driver's seat anymore.
yeah, and I think it's just about acceptance of like this is what I'm meant to be here to do. And
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not book smart, I'm not great at math and all of these things, but some people are and they don't understand what I have. So, I mean, we all
Hmm.
have our own things that
Strengths.
to bring to the world, and
Yeah.
mine just happens to be a little crazy to some people,
Little woo
a little
woo.
woo woo.
Kim arrives on her broom.
I know. I'm like, and I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
At first, like you said a little while ago, it's like, you know, how do I explain this to people, or how do I
Yeah.
show up as this woo woo person? But, you know, it's becoming more mainstream. People are talking about meditation, they're talking about energy healing.
Yeah.
The old ways aren't working anymore. So I
No,
think,
and we're coming back to our roots is what we're doing. This
yes.
is the way. Our first language is energy.
Hmm.
It's not words. Our first language is energy. So, you
Yeah.
can't snuff that out.
Yeah. I know, which is something else that I'm like starting to really get intrigued by this quantum entanglement and
Hmm.
angel numbers maybe aren't exactly angel numbers. Maybe they're codes for other things. And it's just,
I
yeah,
believe
that's another,
I believe they're DNA codes. I really do. I mean, but that's because of my experience last year with that blue light DNA activation, if we want to get really woo woo here.
yeah, yeah, definitely a topic for a call for sure. Some
Yeah,
of our
absolutely.
woo-woo things.
Yeah, we should have one where we just go deep with all of those, the
Hmm.
basics, really. It felt weird to even tell anybody about it because it's not mainstream, right? But
Yeah.
I don't want to be mainstream. I want to be me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm reminding myself of though is like I get a lot of posts by people that I follow that talk about these things. And maybe in our own circles, it's not talked about and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's woo-woo. But when you think of the big picture in the whole world, there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of people talking about this stuff. We just happen to be the people in our little spot in the world that's
Yeah,
talking about
that's
it.
true. That's great clarity. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, I'll hold the pillar on Vancouver Island.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Um, and it's interesting when, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but like if you say had a friend that you're still friends with, and the first time you expose your woo-woo to them, I don't know why that's coming up for me right now, but it's probably because we probably scare some people off with it because they don't understand it because they're
Yeah.
so in the 3D matrix, right? They're so ingrained in society and
Hmm.
still watching reality shows and going out on the weekends, which whatever, we've all been there, right? We've all, there's no shame in that. But
Hmm.
when you get out of that matrix and you're, living in the 5D and in the ethereal space, it's much different.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that because my initial thought was that people are going to think I was crazy. I mean, I know my family's gotten used to me. I have no idea actually what they think of me, but they're like, oh, yeah, that's just Kim, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised, to be honest, how many people I went to school with that are showing up as their authentic self, that are very much into um, energy healing and spirituality and have been like intuitive psychic since they were children, but never talked about it in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in some ways, I wonder if there was like an era that I was born in that we were all kind of on the same journey, but at different stages in our lives, or like, because I mean, if I think back to when I was a child, I used to think that I just had a really strong imagination, but I do think I used to see energy and some sort of beings, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until, 4 years ago that I actually realized that I was more than an empath and just being really observant, that I'm a psychic medium. And
Mm-hmm.
that was huge. Like when I took my 6 week course and my teacher was like, okay, well, you guys can like put it out there now. You can tell your family and friends you're a psychic medium. And I'm like, no fucking way.
Right.
I'm like, they're gonna think I'm fucking lunatic.
Off to the fourth floor you go.
I know. It's like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
but okay. But also though, what's coming up for me when I say that
Mm-hmm.
is I'm still working on this now too, where it's like stepping
Yeah.
into my power and my authentic self is like, who are you to think that you're that special? That's the idea and the story that I get when I go to say things like that. It's like,
Right.
oh well, you think you're better or you think you're this. And it's like, nope, it's just what I've discovered about myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But that's the belief system that I've had since my childhood is like for
Yeah.
me
Old
being
wiring.
able yeah, for me being able to truly step into my authenticity and the power that I'm finding within myself is that little voice in the back of my mind, these limiting beliefs of saying like, who do you think that you can stand out from the crowd or, be noticed? And that's
Mm-hmm.
been huge for me lately that I've really dived deep into that. And that's what I've discovered is like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't have to get into it. You can read it in my memoir if you like, of,
Yes.
of how I came across these things. But it's like,
Yes.
why is it that I have such a hard time standing out and like putting myself out there like completely 100% authentically? And it's because I had this limiting belief of like, who are you to think that you can do that? Or who are you
Mm-hmm.
to think that you're better than everybody? And it's not even about that, but that's how it makes me feel of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know if I'm getting my point across that well, but like, um, yeah, it's been a deep dive for me lately. But
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
I can relate to that for sure. It's been the same for me, and I would say this last year, I've definitely been more confident. I'm probably not 100% there, where we have low days where I'm just like, oh, I just want to stay home. I don't want anyone to see me, those kinds of things. But
human days.
human days, that's right. Yeah. But for the most part, like just out and about, if someone asks me something, I answer authentically now.
Hmm.
And the big shift for me, I noticed within 3 weeks of microdosing psilocybin
Mm,
was what helped rewire my brain. And that's no word of a lie. As soon as I started that, things started unfolding very quickly for the
yeah.
good, but it really is old, like they say, even with addictions, like you're just creating certain pathways in your brain and that's your automatic. That's where you go. That's where you go. Right. And it's no different. for us and our
Hmm.
limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I don't want to be seen, or I feel ugly, or whatever it is. It's a pattern we created,
Yeah.
but you're aware of it, like, and as am I, and that's where it starts to heal.
Hmm. And it's literally about switching those limiting beliefs to I am worthy enough to show up. And, um, you know, I'm allowed to be seen, I'm allowed to be heard. But
Mm-hmm.
also, even deeper than that for you and I is like, if we truly, truly want to make a difference in the world, we can't do it 100% completely if we can't show up 100% authentically for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and remember our text this morning, and I was saying, I definitely feel more comfortable right now with a sister holding my hand doing something. Like it feels better to be able to do it together because then you've got that support. If you are feeling a little bit, you know, we can
Hmm.
balance each other out or just hold space for each other. Like just being here in this space, I feel completely comfortable. I mean, obviously our
Yeah.
connection is amazing. We have a beautiful friendship and sisterhood, but nonetheless, it helps me, to not feel alone too. And it's like,
Hmm.
if she's going to be seen, right? Like fully seen online, then hell yeah, I can do it too with you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That's community. We've talked about that before too. And we always come back to that, and that's basically the reason we're doing this,
Yeah. And
right?
holding each other accountable too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, human beings are not meant to journey this life alone.
No,
We're
absolutely.
like pack animals. We're
Yeah.
like, and when you actually look at it even a little bit deeper, it's like this is why I think it's so important for women to start these circles and these groups because we get back to the root of what, like, you talked about getting back to the root of things. Like,
Mhm.
women need to be in a circle. We need to support each other. We need to uplift each other again and not put each other down and criticize and compare. And it's such toxic femininity that society has created. And I just yearn to get back to the connection with women and just be like, fuck
Mhm.
yeah, like get going, like, and just praise each other and like lift each other up and hold each other's hands. And
Mhm.
like, it actually brings tears to my eyes, even bringing it up, that it's like, when I think back to my childhood and how like the girls teased me and stuff because they were jealous. And I mean, that's
Mhm.
childhood stuff, but it's like, why? Like, how did we ever
Mhm.
get there? Like, why can't we just, I mean, I love going up to a woman that I don't know and that's like looks really nice and be like, oh my gosh, like, I love your dress. It looks so beautiful. And even
Mhm.
if they don't respond in a way, like it might be like they're not used to that or something, and they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks. They
Yeah.
go away feeling really good. Like, somebody
Yeah.
noticed me today, and it was another
Right.
woman. It wasn't a man. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
a sexual comment or something. It was like,
Yeah.
she's genuinely saying, I look really nice today.
Mhm.
That's where we need to get back to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same as you. Absolutely. I like to uplift, even, when we used to go out to restaurants all the time, I didn't complain. I would point out the things they did good, because that's encouraging. If you're just like, oh, my food was cold and you did this and you did this, and they're like, fuck you then, and I don't
Hmm.
want your tip, right? But if you're like, you know what, you were so kind and I noticed it was really busy, don't worry that you forgot my water or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
why are we not, But
Hmm.
and my husband, he was always one that would tip really well too. So, together, that person probably, like you say, felt really good after we left rather than feeling like a piece of shit,
Yeah.
you know? But I feel you with the younger stuff too. Like I was bullied all through school. I had one close friend, but I think she was just wounded too, and we kind
Hmm.
of clung to each other. I don't think it was a real, I shouldn't say it wasn't a real friendship. It was for our age, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, girls were nasty, like
Yeah.
nasty.
Hmm.
And yeah, I carried that a long, long time, a long
Yeah.
time, like to the point that you know, I didn't want to be friends with women in my
Hmm.
early adulthood. I was friends with men, you know, not because it felt safe, just because it was different.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, without even thinking about it, I think that's kind of what I used to do too. Like, um, I definitely had a few good girlfriends from junior high into high school, but
Hmm.
I mean, I think I just always got along with men better. And I always used to think, oh, it's just because they they want to date you or something. But it's like, I
Yeah,
mean, maybe, but it's also like they don't get catty and all of this stuff. And
that's right.
um, anyway, I think you made a good point though when you were talking about how you compliment the waitress and being positive and stuff. It's like when you learn to love yourself as a whole person, then you can look at other people as a whole person and that we're
Hmm.
all just human trying to do the best we can. We all have good days and bad days, but it also takes a lot to get there. Like,
Yeah.
usually people that are complaining and pointing fingers and all these things are, like you said, they're people with unhealed wounds.
Hmm.
Like, even these children back in the day, like, as adults, we can look back and go, well, I wonder what their home life was like.
Hmm.
Who knows? But um yeah, like it's really people that are always, they call them the negative Nellies or whatever. It's like they're not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, sometimes like while we're on that subject, you know, and let's just go back to the restaurant thing, you know, say you're sitting in a booth and the booth behind you and the woman or the man is like really loud about their complaint. You know, sometimes I think, gosh, you really need to be seen, but not like this,
Yeah.
right? I've
Hmm.
thought that many times too. And, you know, I'm not diagnosing anybody, but just like you can't not think that way when you start thinking that way. You
Hmm.
can't unsee these things, right?
Yeah.
Like have always been very intrigued by true crime. I watch a lot of true crime for the psychology. Like I watch the psychologist that he breaks down the body language, how they answer, you know, twitches in the eyes and just,
Oh yeah.
you know, and you think about those people that do those awful crimes, they've all had a broken childhood in one way or another, or they've been
Hmm.
abandoned, you know? It all stems from pain.
Yeah. And we don't have to take that in
Hmm.
and have it part of our life,
Right.
in a sense of like, allowing somebody to treat you poorly because they're not a happy person. That's not okay.
Right.
But we can love people from a distance and wish them well and wish them
Hmm.
healing and
Hmm.
see them as a whole person and not somebody that's just, toxic or dysfunctional or whatever. It's like, oh, they must be really hurting. And there's a difference of when you're coming from a place of judgment to a place of love. And when we can really start seeing us all as connected and as whole beings, just living a human experience on our own journeys at our own time, we can keep sending that love out to these people so that in hopes that they get better, but also having those healthy boundaries to protect ourselves till they're ready.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a great place to be for sure. And you know, I think about when I wasn't conscious like this and would run into those negative situations and almost engage sometimes, you know, and
Hmm.
carry that other person's anger or fear or anxiety or whatever with me, you know, like you were saying, you don't have to take it on, but I used to.
Hmm. Me too.
Hmm.
Well, and when you're still living in that unregulated nervous system, which a lot of people are, you
Mm-hmm.
tend to latch on to that trauma that somebody's digging into because your nervous system recognizes that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a place where you're aware of it, it's almost like for me, I can step back and go, oh gosh, I was doing it again. That's, and then do the work to let that go, like whether I go and do some shaking or meditation or just
Mm-hmm.
journaling, whatever, to let it go, then, you're at least you're at a place where you're recognizing it and you can keep growing from it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that essentially is what it is there's still a tiny little part of us that latches onto it for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, you
Yeah.
know, that's also an invitation to dive deeper and go, okay, where do I still need to do a little bit of work?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you
Yep.
know,
Or somebody that's listening and is like, oh my gosh, like I do this, I attach onto other people's emotions, like where can you start? Well, recognizing it is the
mhm,
start, right? Like actually having an aha moment of like, oh my gosh, because many times I've listened to podcasts and been like, that's me. I didn't even
mhm,
realize it. And that was my message within that podcast. And
yeah.
I think, I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm feeling like part of that, carrying those emotions, is a way of feeling alive. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're feeling alive now by living in our authenticity and speaking our truth and, being healers and learning how to counsel people properly. But I think in the unhealed versions of ourselves, a way of feeling alive is attaching to those, emotions. Like I was always angry and like fingering people on the road and stuff, like I was horrible. I was horrible. I would like swear at people, road rage in front of my children, but it was a way to be seen, a way to feel alive, a way to feel like I was doing something or activating something. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at?
Well,
If I'm explaining it right, but
it's your frustration that you were hanging on to that you hadn't released yet though. And I think once it gets full, it starts to over pour onto other people or in our day-to-day lives, right?
mm-hmm.
Like I know even there's times where I've had road rage too, and I'm driving and it's like there are certain things on the road, just a little side note, that makes me feel really angry because I feel unsafe. But
Right,
now, like if people cut me off and I just, I like slow down and let them in, I'm like, well, obviously you're in a fucking hurry,
right.
instead
And
of
I'll
being like,
see,
fuck off.
yeah, I know. And you'll see them at the next light, right? Because
Yeah, it's like,
that's
oh, hey,
always what
how's it
happens.
going?
Oh, I can remember being so mad, like, and it was dangerous, but I wouldn't let them pass me. And they were trying to pass me. Like, lack of control in your life much, Lisa? You know?
Yeah, but you can see that now, though. We can
Yeah,
both see it. And
yeah.
I mean, it's humorous for us, but I'm sure some people would be like, well, that's not, get their pennies in a knot. It's his fault. Oh, okay, I can see where you're at. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah, we won't poke the bear.
No. But going back to what you said, though, like, I think feeling alive is feeling all the feelings, though.
Yeah,
Like,
for
when
sure.
I'm vibrating at a high frequency,
Mm-hmm.
which, like, I was feeling really good before, like, when I was still living up in Kitimat before I was urgently having to come down here for my daughter's accident.
Yeah.
I mean, that just pushed everything right back down for me. But like, I was just feeling alive for once, like free and alive and just vibing high. And I'm like, I'm going places and like just feeling amazing.
Yeah.
And here I am just over 2.5 years ago, starting to feel that way again. And I feel the
Mm-hmm.
most alive when I'm in this energy.
Mm-hmm.
But in an unhealed way, when you're feeling that trauma and that anger and hurt, it can also make you feel really alive too.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yep.
just depends on, I think, where you're at, right? The in between, maybe that's why it feels so fucking uncomfortable when you're alone and switching from, I don't know if you remember that place where it was like you got on this journey and you got to a place where it was like, I don't feel like anybody relates to me. Nobody understands me anymore. I'm not the person I thought I was. They're not the person I thought I was. I don't know who's going to relate to me, all these things. And it feels really
Mm-hmm.
lonely.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you move through that loneliness and you realize this is about learning how to be alone
Yeah.
within my body, in my own space, and love myself, and you actually learn, not learn, but you get used to and quite enjoy being by yourself.
Yes.
And
Oh
then you
my
start,
God, yes.
yeah, but then you start on the other side where your energy starts to get higher and you're like, wow, I like this feeling and this feels really good. And then the growth just gets addictive. You're like, I just want to keep going on this path because this
Yes,
feels
it
so
does.
good. But
Mm-hmm.
now you're on the opposite side of being in that negative, like trauma and, that space of feeling. But now you're like it's like the teeter totter or the pendulum has swung and you're like on the opposite side, but in a positive way. But
Mm-hmm.
that in between is where the discomfort is. And maybe that's like that shift, right? It just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel right. I'm used to that trauma and that anger and the hurt.
Yeah.
But when you let go of that and you don't know what it feels like on the other side, it's really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And when we stop justifying that anger, and let's just call it what it is, corrupt way of living, like leaving carnage everywhere you go. I know for myself,
Mm-hmm.
I justified every time why it was okay. Well, if
Mm-hmm.
he didn't do that, I wouldn't have done this, and it was all these excuses. Whereas
Yeah.
now, when we are on that other side that you're talking about, we can take responsibility if we slip.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go around road raging or anything anymore, but there's moments that come up and the old me is, it's feeling like right here and I have to tame her and say we're not living like that anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just part of being human, I think.
Yeah. And it's part of the process. Like, I mean, to say we're ever going to be perfect would be ludicrous. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah,
we've had a lifetime, generations of programming and
yeah,
trauma and stuff that we're trying to heal. So it's like maybe in
yeah.
5 generations from now, 5 lifetimes, we might be 100%. That's when we don't come back again, I think.
I was just going to say that actually. I don't think we're like ever 100%, whatever, whatever, good, let's
Hmm.
just say, uh, level frequency. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably only existent in the other side, wherever that is. Not the
Hmm.
two sides you're talking about right now. The other one that we can't see,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for
Totally
sure.
agree with you, though. I totally agree with you.